Hey, it's George, and welcome back. So a little bit earlier I took a walk to buy a notebook, and I took a slightly different route that I might have normally taken, and I live quite near Mount Eden at the moment, and there's a park that's on the side of it. I've never been there, I've never walked through there before, I normally drive, and so I saw a pathway that I hadn't seen before, and I took a walk up the pathway, and it took me to a place that I hadn't been and I didn't even know existed. I'd been up to the top of the hill and had a look out over Auckland, which is really fantastic. But I hadn't seen any of the parks or features halfway up the hill. And as I was walking, I found this big bowl with an amphitheater and there's seats all around the side and it's a big grass area and it's fantastic. And I was thinking, well, I didn't know that even existed. And I walked a bit further and there's a dog park and there was a couple of girls with their dogs. I think like a couple of Labradors and a big bull or something like that. Some really quite big dogs. And they were running around and they were playing and they were having just the absolute best of time. And it was fenced in and I thought, I didn't know that existed. I didn't know there was a place where we could take dogs and let them run around in Auckland like that. Well, not close to me anyway. I don't have a dog, but I'm a dog lover, and so I was quite excited by that. I thought that was really cool. And as I was walking, I realized that I'm moving on Monday. So today's Friday. That's, a couple of days away. And it took until just before I moved, before I found out about all of this cool stuff. And as I walked a bit further, I had Spotify going and I was playing through a playlist that had quite a bit of old music back from the 90s and maybe even some from the 80s. And I was just enjoying the music and I was thinking, I was a little bit sad that I had only found out about this awesome aspect of this park just before I leave. And I felt a little bit of regret. The music that I was listening to was some rock ballads and things like that, and one particular song came up that reminded me of a time when I was in love, reminded me of a time when nothing could go wrong because I was madly in love with this girl. In that moment of feeling the regret of moving and only finding out about that park, and I was feeling a little bit of regret and sadness about that missed opportunity where I had actually found out later that this girl that I really liked actually liked me back and I'd just been too shy to do anything about it. And what used to happen was I would get into a mindset of wallowing in that regret and self-pity. I would start to think about all the what-ifs and what could have beens. Some of my business ideas that I've seen other people make billions on that I didn't have the energy, forethought, insight. No, let's face it, I didn't have the courage to give it a go. And I thought that was an interesting moment for me because rather than wallow in that self-pity, rather than wallow in that self-regret, I saw how we can learn from that. We can learn from regret. In Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, Heinz says to the main character, he says, life is simple. Make choices and don't look back. And I think in a way that's good because especially if you have a problem with wallowing in self-pity, if you constantly daydream about what could have been and how much your life sucks and it becomes a part of you, that sense of loss and that sense of not being good enough. But I think he missed something. I think he missed the part where we need to have those moments of regret. We need to feel that regret because it's something we can learn from. It's something that, especially if it's come down to a moment of inaction or lack of courage for you, or maybe procrastination, that moment of regret, that feeling of regret is your subconscious telling you that you could have done better. And rather than get into that wallowing self-pity and just constantly going over it and reliving it again and again and again. We should take it as a lesson. We should take it as something to add to ourselves, not something to just keep on going over and stay in that place of self-pity and insecurity and loss. In my video on grounding your emotions, the tactic I suggested was that we acknowledge the feeling. And I think that we need to add that we need to acknowledge it, but not stay there, not live there, not keep going over that moment in your mind and feeling that regret and self-loathing and self-pity and all those insecurities. They're there for sure, but don't stay there. Don't live in that place. You need to take that regret, acknowledge your mistake, and speak to it. Speak to yourself and say, I see that I messed up. I see that I could have had courage there. I see that I should have acted in a different way. And next time I'll try to do better. Next time, maybe I will have that moment of courage. Maybe I will take that step out in faith. I think there's a very important difference between wallowing and acknowledging and moving on. If you wallow, you tend to just keep those emotions and not actually learn from them. And you'll eventually get depressed because you just keep on thinking through how bad everything was without having that hope of next time I'm going to do better. Next time I'm going to learn. Next time I've got this. Next time you've got this. I believe in you. Don't you believe in yourself? Come on, you've got this. It's George. Thank you for watching, and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.